7 o'clock p.m. Roll call, please.
Trustee Benetti?
Here.
Trustee Boatner?
Here.
Trustee Burson? Here. Trustee Hassenberger?
Here.
Trustee Millet?
Present.
Trustee Muir?
Here.
President Wodnicki?
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Janet, do you want to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment, and it'll be our clerk, Tracy.
Christine Lazarus?
Uh-oh. There it is.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. My name is Christine Lazarus. I know many of you, and I serve as the director of the Geneva Public Library. Over the past year, I have appeared before this board at every public opportunity to discuss the impact of the development before you tonight that will have on the library district. This project will increase the population we serve by approximately 10%. The library's primary revenue source remains property taxes, and you will be cutting off our revenue source. We have consistently expressed opposition to the proposed TIF because of its financial impact. But we also recognize that the village has chosen to move forward with this project. And given that reality, our focus has shifted to ensuring the library receives every protection afforded by Illinois law. I appreciate that the redevelopment agreement tonight acknowledges the requirement to make payments to the library in accordance with the TIF Act. However, it does not establish a process for requesting or receiving those payments. I once again ask that the village memorialize that process in writing so there's a clear, transparent process and procedure for all parties going forward. I also renew the library's request that the developer be held responsible for an impact fee that is independent of the TIF revenue. This development will place significant additional demand on library services. But I also want to come up here tonight to talk about the library's perspective on the process itself. Over the past year, I've written to village officials on multiple occasions and extended invitations to tour the library and discuss these concerns. Some of you showed us the courtesy, and thank you so very much. We attended the annexation hearing and expressed our concerns publicly. Following that meeting, Trustee Benetti spoke with me in the parking lot and indicated that there would be future opportunity for discussion. His statement reiterated what many of you said in that public hearing, that there would be opportunity for discussion, and yet that never occurred. When we received no follow-up, we returned to make public comment before this board. During that meeting, your village administrator had made statements regarding the library district that we believed were inaccurate. I submitted corrections to the meeting minutes for consideration, but those were not incorporated. The library then participated in the joint review board meeting, where both the village's attorney and TIF consultant publicly acknowledged that payments to the library must be made in accordance with the TIF Act. Those discussions, however, did not make it into the meeting minutes. Additionally, it can be heard on the tape that the attorney is being told not to say anything more. At the subsequent public hearing, I again requested that these commitments be memorialized in writing. Our attorney even provided draft language for the village's consideration. Despite more than a year of participation, correspondence, and public comment, the library has been told to be patient, to wait, but it has never been invited to participate in a collaborative discussion about mitigating the impact this project will have on our taxpayers and our services. And that's very disappointing. I understand my comments tonight may not change the outcome of your decision. However, it's important that the record reflects the library's repeated efforts to engage constructively and our continued request for transparency, accountability, and written procedures that protect the interests of all of the residents that we will serve together. Over the course of this process, our trust has been eroded. However, it is not too late for you to change that course. You still can choose a more collaborative approach and work with the library to address these outstanding concerns by tabling the RDA tonight. Or alternatively, you can modify the ordinance to direct your village attorney to incorporate an impact fee for the library district, along with revisions to the TIF reimbursement section to address our concerns. Thank you very much.
Brittany Thies.
Good evening. My name is Brittany Tice, and I'm providing public comment tonight as counsel for Geneva Library District. The last time I was in front of the village board was last September, at which time we were told there was still an opportunity to negotiate regarding an impact fee for the library district, that the trustees were saddened by the library's response, comments, and concerns, and that communication would improve going forward. We're disheartened to provide public comment tonight because months of efforts to initiate discussions and be a local partner have not been successful in proving any certainty for the library district. Despite regular communications to Mr. Forte and Mr. Rooney, we were not provided any substantive responses to our requests for draft redevelopment agreement language, RDA language, to address the procedure that will be used for annual reimbursements from the TIF fund, when applicable, and an impact fee that compares to surrounding communities such as Geneva, which is nominal in comparison to the amounts the developer is covering for the village. I note I prepared those comments before 4:30 this afternoon, where we did get an email from Mr. Forte following a phone call on the topic. We reiterate those requests tonight. Importantly, the library's requests were paired with information about the library's operations and expenses, comparable impact fees, and TIF fund reimbursement procedures. Notably, in any calls that we did have, it was stated to us that draft RDA language and the draft RDA was not ready to be shared, and that the library district's requests would be considered after the water and sewer build-out components were figured out. The library maintained contact during these months while staying patient, and the RDA as presented prohibits those negotiations. Contrary to the statements to the library district that the developer and village could not yet consider requests for an impact fee, during that same time, the developer and the village entered into an agreement with Shonin and Blackberry Township to provide an impact fee for the benefit of the Township Assessor's Office. This is a significant red flag to the library district and rendered the communications with and on behalf of the library district disingenuous at best. The proposed residential development will significantly increase the number of eligible cardholders, a financial impact that is amplified by the lag between the increase in services provided to residents and the receipt of property taxes from properties within the development, as well as the village's adoption of a TIF for the applicable parcels, which will further increase the magnitude of the impact and the delay. The library is proud of the services and programming it provides to residents in all stages of life. It will welcome the new residents from the proposed LaFox development. Please interpret this plea as a request to be heard, to acknowledge the negative financial impact of the village's decisions on the library district, and for the village to use its authority to implement an impact fee on behalf of the library district. Prior communications reiterated the library district's requests, the amount of those requests, and the fact that Geneva Library spends significantly more than those amounts on an annual basis for its cardholders and residents. We ask that the village delay action on the RDA to incorporate an impact fee on behalf of the library district and to address the library district's request to collaborate regarding the language to provide parties procedural certainty regarding TIF reimbursements during the life of the TIF. Thank you for your consideration.
Patsy Smith.
Hi, good evening. Tonight you're considering the MC Squared contract, the municipal aggregation, and I was glad to see that you have a $10,000 annual civic donation included in the contract. I'm not sure whether, I didn't read the contract, it's way too long, but I'm not sure if you negotiated for free electricity, but if you did not, I had recommended earlier this spring and continue to recommend that you you negotiate a franchise agreement with ComEd The reason we didn't have one for the first 8 years of the village was because we owned no property, and therefore we weren't going to get a benefit out of the franchise agreement. And then once we bought Town Hall or Village Hall, we didn't need it because in the first MC squared contract, we had negotiated free electricity. So therefore, there's a benefit for you to do it. When I looked into it, I believe the $150 right-of-way permit fee totaled maybe $2,500 for the year, and I believe my review of the expenses was around $11,000. So, and I don't know if you could talk them into covering both streetlights and Village Hall, but anyway, I would highly recommend it. I had pulled the contracts and left them out on the desk, so I thought I'd mention that as you talk about that contract. Plus, to the Geneva Library District, I've read the RDA, and I would recommend you review section 4.5 because it did have a process for payment. As I recall, it goes, you make the request, the village then reviews the request, and then the village takes it to the developer, and it's paid. So at least that's how I read that section. The village was formed to stop negative impact from future developments when the Elgin's 900 home subdivision was approved. That subdivision didn't have a TIF or require a property tax from those outside their borders. One of the reasons our community has supported the Shodine development is because of the 450 acre open space purchased by the Forest Preserve and the fact that there was zero negative impact to the current village residents. I'm a little nervous as to whether the financial impact is still zero. I have been impressed by Shodine's willingness to work with the community and the village to approve a subdivision that is less dense than all other proposed plans in the last 20 years. However, I have my reservations, but I encourage you to continue to work with Dave Patzel to finalize this agreement. I don't think there is another company that will work with the community the way Shodine has. The LaSalle factors used by the courts in zoning cases consider the relative gain to the public as compared to the hardship imposed on the individual property owner. It's important no property tax ever be required to support this subdivision because I personally don't believe that people will ever approve a property tax. Plus, it's important the RDA you approve covers the building permit fee and the police protection cost accredited to the subdivision. Fortunately, the road maintenance costs are included in an SSA defined in the annexation agreement, which will need to be established as soon as Shodine takes ownership. Section 6.1 of the LaFox redevelopment agreement states that all the fees are up to date, the escrow has been paid, there should be a $15,000 balance according to the annexation agreement in it, and hopefully somebody has checked to make sure the Ryans have paid their property tax before you sign an agreement. It was clarified at the meeting last week that everyone missed the requirement in the State TIF Act that municipalities who don't have a property tax are unwilling to extend one must donate 10% of the incremental tax of the TIF fund. This is a perfect example why legislative counsel should be considered by this board. Perhaps another attorney would have caught this 2 years ago when the project began. This issue should have never been missed, and the Plan Commission should have been aware of it at the time of the public hearing. As you may remember, I provided you with a range of possible costs and funds available to support the police department and the permit fees and inspections. Based on the $10,500 building permit fee required by the annexation agreement. After further conversation with consultant Rooney, there are some other assumptions that should be
We're
considered.
a little bit at the 4-minute mark.
Well, I'm just saying, I've got the information if you want it, but right now, based on the assumptions, you're very close to being able to cover this and all the impact fees with a $6,000 fee. And I just want to point out that you need to be, new or future boards need to be very aware of their financial constraints to make sure that they're not causing an impact. Thank you.
Andy Barrett?
Hi, Good evening, President Winicki, members of the board, and village staff and representatives. I'm Andy Barrett. I'm superintendent of Geneva Community Unit School District 304. I'm here tonight with Board of Education Vice President Jackie Forbes to address the redevelopment agreement that's on your agenda tonight under action item 7C. As you certainly know, the proposed development falls within the boundaries of our school district, and as such, we worked collaboratively with the village and the developer to establish a developer donation agreement that's referenced in the RDA that you'll review tonight. In those discussions, we ultimately came to a shared understanding regarding the importance of our partnership, and through a collaborative effort, we established that agreement that we do believe is fair to all parties and lays the foundation for a strong partnership for years to come. I'm here tonight to ensure that the collaborative spirit and shared commitments that were established in the developer donation agreement are also reflected in the RDA. Unfortunately, the proposed RDA was not made available to the public in connection with the board's special meeting on July 14th, and nor was it provided directly to the district prior to its inclusion in the board packet for tonight's meeting. So while we were ultimately able to review the draft RDA upon its public release in your board packet, we did immediately note some concerns. And given our limited opportunity for review and collaboration, our attorney did provide written comments to Village Attorney Mr. Forte via email. Unfortunately, I'm sure as a result of the significant time constraints, we've only received limited communication and thus have not resolved all of our concerns. So given these factors, I'm here tonight to simply request that you table action on the RDA in order to provide all parties with the opportunity to continue our strong collaboration and ensure that the RDA is really reflective of our shared commitments. I'm confident that the additional time would allow our teams to ensure consistency between the RDA and our developer donation agreement. Alternatively, should the board deem it appropriate, we would simply request that the board amend the proposed ordinance 2640 by directing the village's attorney to incorporate the revisions shared with him earlier today. Again, I'm grateful for the collaborative spirit that we've established in the early stage of this process, and I'm confident that our partnership can remain strong in the years ahead as we continue to work together towards our shared goals. Thanks for the opportunity and the time.
Drew Frost.
Thank you. I'll be speaking reference to the RDA between Shodine and the village. I just wanted to go over a little bit of the background history. You've heard it from me ad nauseum, but I want to repeat a little bit of it and talk about what's transpired in the last week or so. I met with Dave Patzel in May 2023. At that time, the large Pulte 2,000 plus home development with annexation to St. Charles was still a very viable threat. Bill Zander, our treasurer, and myself had several meetings with Shodine, and we actually came up with the 900 unit, 65% open space concept that's substantially the LaFox of Campton Hills proposal you see today. Shodine is very much, was recruited by us. We've had 4 other proposals, as you know, and they are very much the white knight in this situation, and it's this very rare scenario you see today that the developer is coming in as partners with the village staff and the community. We began discussions with Barbara Winicki and Mr. Rooney in May of 2024 about the possible annexation to Campton Hills because we really believe that our philosophy meshed perfectly as far as preserving open space. And again, we would love if nothing was ever built here, but this is by far the best proposal that has come along, and it's a collaboration with the village. We began then meeting individually with village board members in the spring of 2025. In May 2025, we began our weekly team meetings that we have every week here in the Village Hall, our Monday morning meetings, and we are now some 60 meetings into this project. So it's been a long time and a lot of work. Over this time, you've seen very few opposition voices to this project. Last week at your special village board meeting, discussions and questions were heard on the RDA. I think a lot of them were answered, maybe not all, and everybody seemed in agreement that there would be a vote this evening. Last Friday, 19 written questions were received by the developer and staff, and the developer worked through the weekend, and on Monday morning at 9 o'clock in our meeting, he had responses written. Those responses were reviewed by the team on Monday and submitted. The answers were submitted. Today, 13 follow-up questions were received. I don't want to diminish the need for the board and the responsibility for the board to ask questions on proposals, but I suspect many of these questions are being authored by a lone opposition party from outside the board in an attempt to confuse and complicate the issue and delay our progress. I want to thank you for your time and attention to this project over the last 2 years. I urge you to vote in the affirmative on the LaFox RDA tonight, and I thank you for your time.
Okay. Drew? Sure.
If you're referring to the questions that were received today, those were written by me, drafted by me, strictly from me. No outside force, nothing else, and it has nothing to do with trying to, get rid of this subdivision. It has to do with answering questions so that I can understand the document. So if you're referring to the questions today, that was me. Then we have a difference of opinion, and I'm saying it publicly for the record. I'm not exactly sure who you think I represent or who I'm talking to, but I represent myself and my own opinions.
Okay. All right. Moving on, one thing I'd like to state is I pulled Resolution 26-11. It's from February 3rd, 2026, and it states that each trustee at our meetings shall be permitted up to 3 minutes to make initial comments. So if we could stick to that, that would be great. Total discussion on an issue could be as much as 15 minutes. So if it's total, everybody, trustees all, have multiple comments, it could be 15 minutes total. So I just want you to keep that in mind, and then we'll move to the consent agenda. Anything to remove from the consent agenda? Okay. Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to,
Move to approve consent agenda.
okay, moved by Mike. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Ken. Roll call. Thank you,
Trustee
Mike.
Malad?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Burson? Aye. Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We have staff reports, and it'll be Chief Levand.
Thank you. Your May activity report, 313 calls for service, 15 accidents, 206 citations, and 15 arrests. Just a reminder, August 4th is our National Night Out event, 5 to 8, Congressional United Church of Christ. Usually we attract about 3,000 residents each year for the event. It's huge. By far, it's our biggest community event we have every year. This year, we have 46 confirmed vendors. Of course, we have free food, including the free hot dogs from the best in Chicago, which is Jimmy's Red Hot. So I thank him for every year doing it. Beverages, ice cream, Italian ice, cotton candy, and popcorn. It's a great event for the community to come out, interact with first responders, not only the Campton Hills Police, but you have the Elburn Countryside Fire Department, Pingree Grove Countryside Fire Department, Fox River Countryside Fire Department, Kane County Office of Emergency Management, Kane County Mounted Patrol, and many others. This year we'll have bounce houses, 52-foot obstacle course, 5-in-1 sports game, DJ magicians, games, giveaways, including a drone, and an appearance from Superior AirMed helicopter from 6 to 7 p.m. This is the first time. Each year we try to add something to this event, and it is as a challenge because the event is so big and it's very good. This year we added a large mobile video game trailer for the kids and kids and adults alike. So it holds up to 25 people. They can go in the trailer, play video games and air conditioning. So hopefully that will work out great. I'm sure they'll love it. We'll have mascots as usual, Skates from the Chicago Wolves, Sparky the Fire Dog. Of course, I want to thank Stavi and the Community Relations Committee because they do a lot of the heavy lifting on this for me, and they do a great job. As soon as National Night Out is over, we shift gears. We've already been working on it. We go to Boo After Dark, which is the second year for this. We did it last year, was the first year, was a huge success. We were hoping a couple hundred people came out. We ended up with close to 3,000 people. It actually took us a little bit by surprise. That's going to be on October 10th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Coron Farms. It's a partnership with Campton Township Open Space, who also does a great job. This year, we look to improve on it, so we'll have 2 wagons and trailers for the haunted hayride, so we'll sort of speed up that process. We have more food vendors, more restrooms, lighting, a better parking plan, so we're going to anticipate for more people this year, so it should be great. And then the one thing we did get in feedback is we needed a better way to do our costume contest judging. So this year,
Wait a minute.
you did good, Barb, but we had to come up with a different way. So this year, we're going to improve on that with a panel and 5 different categories. So it'll be a great event as long as the weather is good. During the last few years, we've looked to add more events to the community. Typically, it was always Holiday in the Hills was our big thing, National Night Out, which was small and got really big. So we've added these events. It's great. Thanks to the board, because obviously the board gives us the funds to do this. We charge nothing for these events. Everything we do is free to the community, and they love it. But I asked the board to start thinking in advance if you can, because remember, next year comes your anniversary. So for the village incorporating, so we are glad as a police department and community relations to help put something good together, but I asked the board to come up with some thoughts and ideas of what maybe they want to do for the community. So it seems like it's a long time away, but it's not when you're planning a big event, so just something to think about. Over the last couple months, I noticed that we have 18 exterior lights on our building, and many of those lights were burnt out. And it took me a long time to get to the HOA, who the HOA then advised me that they don't do our exterior of our building, even though we pay a substantial fee every year, because we own the building. It's our responsibility. They referred me to an electrician who gave me a very large price. So I want to thank Don Weiland, who does a lot of stuff for our community, VIPS, CERT he did, and he's also on CRC. We paid the $45. Don went and bought all brand-new light bulbs, and he replaced them all himself, saving us a bunch of money from what an electrician wanted. So I just wanted to say thank you to Don for doing that, because it cost us $45 to replace all 18 lights that were out there. So that was a huge help from Don. We're preparing for the start of the school year. That's coming up August 12th. Obviously, we'll have a heightened presence there. Last year was the first year that Officer Bond was assigned as a school resource officer for Wasco and Belle Graham. This year, he'll do the same thing. It was a huge success last year, so he'll be doing that again this year. And then one last final thing, I've already talked to Administrator Pollock and the village president about this. Over the last 3 months, I've been approached about a movie being filmed in the village. This has been, and I also have to think, Scott is here, isn't he? Yes.
Yeah.
So Scott was a big help on this. So we can't give out the details of the movie name. We can't do none of that. The producers have asked us not to do that. They are looking to film it at a location on Route 38. Originally, they asked us to close down Route 38 for almost a 3-week period. No, I'm not lying. From 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. almost every single night. Well, as Scott was so kind to work with me and point out, there was no chance that IDOT was going to allow that, and they did not. It was denied. We have come up to a new plan now that IDOT's approving. They're going to pay our officers in the month of August. We're looking at probably 5 or 6 different nights they're going to shoot. We'll do temporary lane closures on Route 38 for about 15 minutes at a time and then allow traffic to go through while they're doing their scenes. So we've come to a compromise on that. They're going to pay for, obviously, the overtime for the officers to be out there. They've asked it, the reason I'm bringing this up, this doesn't have to be decided now, they asked if the village would be willing to put one of our patrol cars, marked Campton Hills Police, into this production.
Nice.
So it's something I bring up for discussion that you guys can do, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. But no, they will not allow me, I don't know. They won't tell me what the movie name is. I do know there is big actors in the movie, but they won't give out none of the details. So I'll leave that to the board to decide if they want a patrol car in this production, so.
Absolutely.
But that should be it.
Right? Yeah. Thank you, Chief Levand. All right. Moving on, well, thank you to Stavi and to Don Weiland as well. They're always there to help us out. They're great. Moving on to action items, 7A, motion to approve Resolution 26-39 for MC Squared Electric Aggregation Extended Term Agreement, Amendment Number 5. Do I have a motion to move that?
I so motion.
Second.
Kim? Second by Mike. Discussion? Any discussion on MC Squared? Nick? Sure.
I had a question. Is there a deadline that we have to meet as far as approving this? And the reason for the question is, do we have time? One, there was a good public comment referring to could we negotiate in cost of our electricity, but what I came in wondering was, can we push back on the civic contribution and see if we can get more out of the agreement?
So the broker didn't give me a deadline as if we're in or out of it, but in terms of the renewal notices getting sent out, there's a deadline associated with that. So I could go back to them and ask for a higher civic contribution. That's an option.
Yeah, I think in addition, like the higher civic contribution or, the cost of electricity is a great idea, but getting more out of the agreement.
I could ask for it.
Okay. Any other comments regarding MC Squared? Therese?
So I agree with Nick. So
Okay.
I also would like to hear more about what Patsy had to say about this free electricity and whether or not that's something we negotiate now or later, or however that works. So I think it would make sense if we waited on this.
Okay. Do I have a motion do you want to table?
I will motion to table till the next meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second to table?
Second.
Second by Janet. Okay. Roll call to table.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to B, 7B, motion to approve Resolution 26-31, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Campton Hills and the County of Kane regarding the Bunker Road, LaFox Road, and Kesslinger corridors.
Make a motion?
Moved by Nick. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mike. Discussion? Any comments or discussion? Okay, roll call.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to 7C, motion to approve ordinance 26-40, approving a redevelopment agreement by and between the Village of Campton Hills, Kane County, Illinois, and Shodine Construction Company, LLC, LaFox Road Tax Increment Financing District.
So move.
Was that Frank? Moved by Frank?
Second.
Second by Janet. Discussion. Any discussion?
Attorney Forte was going to do just a basic overview of what we're approving, I think
Okay.
legally, and if there's any questions, I can answer them, but I think we've had many discussions already.
Ready, Carmen, for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Building on the discussion that we had with the board at the last meeting, this is the final version of the RDA that was negotiated between the village and Shodine. It is the general framework for the deal between the village and Shodine with regard to reimbursements as sought from increment that will be generated, property tax increment that will be generated from this development. It is the document that Shodine will then utilize to obtain financing for the project. As you have seen inside the agreement, there are many different means in which financing can be sought by the developer, none of which include a general obligation bond from the village. With the potential approval of this agreement, that will allow Shodine to close on the property with North First, the Ryan family, and then it will allow Shodine to sell off the portion of the property to the Forest Preserve that was approved in the previous agreement that was before you. As you saw in the agreement, there are subsequent agreements that will be approved by the village and subsequent enacting ordinances that you will have before you in the near future. That would include a sanitary district agreement, of which the village will participate in the negotiations, various special service areas that will be approved for the property, that will account for the maintenance of the roads and other common areas in the property, whether they're active or backup SSAs. And depending on the type of financing that's sought by the developer, you may have ordinances that would approve a certain bond financing or other types of financing measures. So this is the final version of the agreement, and from here, a lot of the heavy lifting has been completed. There will be some continued work after this. Approval of the final PUD will go to the village engineer as well after the developer is able to obtain financing for the project.
Okay, Frank, sure.
Can you address the issues that were brought up by the school district and the library district? And I guess the question with the library district, there seems to be an assumption that once the RDA is signed, that there's no future possibility that there can be an impact fee added. And my understanding throughout this conversation was that we were going to wait and see what all the funds were needed as far as the sanitary district and all the infrastructure before it could be determined if the library district or fire district, there would be, some ability for us to do that. So, but I think the library district especially has an understanding that if we sign the RDA tonight, that possibility goes away. So can you clarify that?
Sure. So a couple of issues. The first, with regard to the requests from the school district and the library district, the parties felt that the language in the RDA with regard to the flow of funds, so the reimbursements, not the reimbursement, the share of increment that is statutorily attributed, and in the school district's instance also in the donation agreement attributed to either of those districts, is laid out in the agreement. It refers to the act. It refers to the specifics of the act, specific statutory citations. The parties didn't feel that additional clarifying language was necessary. It would not, the language that was provided did not conflict with the act, but the parties felt that, parties to the agreement felt that the language that was there was sufficient. As to a donation agreement, similar to that you've seen with the school district and Blackberry Township, the signing of the RDA, in my opinion, wouldn't preclude the developer from later agreeing to a donation agreement. That's certainly something that that is money that is being paid by the developer to a third party. The RDA itself does not specifically identify that a donation agreement is required. It doesn't say that one is or is not required. Whether or not the village is a party to the donation agreement or any donation agreement is really, it's up to the determination of the two parties that are most affected, which would be the third-party district or taxing body and the developer. If the village is not controlling the means in which the money is coming from the developer, the funds are coming from the developer to third party, there's a possibility that the village would not need to be a party to that agreement. But in short, as I stated before, that doesn't mean that the developer can't, at a later point, agree. It's just not required in the RDA right now.
And I believe, Trustee Benetti, 4.6 does talk about the TIF increment. If there's other TIF increment available in pick a year, 10, 12, that is after other priorities have been addressed, if there's money available in the TIF increment, a future board could consider, any kind of TIF request if it was an eligible cost. That's the key, is eligible legal cost in the board. But right now, your pledge of this agreement, there just isn't any excess funds after we cover Exhibit C.
I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that our position really hasn't changed on that.
On that point, yes.
On that particular point. And then is there anything with the school district? Obviously, there were comments made tonight. and you received some of their comments?
I think
Right, that-
section 4.5, I'd reference you to look at. It does spell out what the TIF Act and the reimbursement of the TIF increment to the school district. And they have a donation agreement that's almost $6 million from the developer to the school district. And that's spelled out in a separate agreement and referenced in the annexation agreement.
So in relation to the school district's language change request of today, it was a further extension of the procedures within the statute of priorities for payments, that the increment enters into the fund for the affected properties, that the payments are made to the school and the library as statutorily required, and then other priority costs or project costs are paid off, that reimbursements made to the developer and then to the village. The parties felt, and not just the village, but the developer and his TIF attorney felt that the language was not necessary, that the agreement already encompassed what was required under the act. So, we provided that language to both sides, and the determination was not to add it.
That's it? Okay, anybody else? Therese?
So just for anyone in the audience who's not aware of this, I'm an attorney. I'm an inactive attorney, but I do have a legal background. So when I look at things on behalf of the village, I'm doing it from my own knowledge, my own skill set, my own everything. I don't listen to anyone. No one tells me what to do or say. I do what I think is right. And along with that, it was a process of me asking some questions. So yes, I sent through several questions on Friday. And I was actually very impressed with the responses from Dave and from others. I thought he went out of his way to make sure that some of my biggest concerns were addressed, and I appreciate that. And so my follow-up today was just to kind of say, listen, this is what I sent out on Friday. These are the responses that I received. These are still questions that I have now. Most of them are not something that is going to stop me from voting today, except for one. So my questions, though, are not unreasonable. I think they're all something that any one of us should be doing or could be doing if they desire, and I happen to desire to do this on behalf of the village community. But the questions that I asked had to do with things like the sanitary district agreement that hasn't been, prepared. I am comfortable, though, however, with the response I got from Mr. Patzel. So I'm good with that. It is a fact, though, that it is not prepared. There is no draft. And I have other questions similar to that. The one that I am a little bit stuck on, though, is just the dropping of the impact fee from $10,500 to $6,000. It looked like Patsy was going to address that briefly. I know at one point in time she thought that even the $10,500 wouldn't be adequate to cover the impact. It sounds like there's been a lot of discussion on that, new numbers, new information. What I had asked for was just that we redo those numbers and we all kind of agree on what the impact is before we move forward. Part of the problem is this has been a quick process, which is I understand that there's a lot riding on this agreement. And I wish we had a few more days where we could go over some of these things because I think it's important. But it looks like we ran out of time. But just from my standpoint, I think that was an important thing to be answered before we do any of this, before we approve this tonight. The other thing is I don't think we should have any partners who are coming in and saying that they haven't even had a meeting. I don't understand that at all. I think that everyone should have been spoken with professionally, and whether we give them what they're asking for or agree to their changes is a whole different issue, but we do need to give them the time and listen. And for them to have gone through the effort of sending us questions and documents and then not really having an opportunity to get responses, I don't think that looks good for us as a village at all. And setting up a meeting and then having a follow-up meeting where we're going to go through a 60-some page document in 1 week, I think put a strain on a lot of us. So that's all I have to say. So if I vote no on this, it's not for the subdivision. It's because there were questions that one issue that I would like to have a better analysis done so I know what I'm agreeing to.
Okay, Janet?
I have a question for our attorney, Mr. Forte. There's a provision in the agreement that anticipates that the library district would effectively bill us for the households that they believe are in the district, similarly to the way the school district would communicate to us who they believe are students enrolled in their district. Is that correct?
Right, it's up to the library to provide the information that indicates to the village those numbers.
Is there a reason that we would not be able to represent affirmatively who moved into the village, who we've given permits to, who's received certificates of occupancy, so that happens automatically from their perspective rather than having to dun us for for new people moving in? Is that a possibility?
I think it's probably reasonable that could occur. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would move that we consider making that small modification to this agreement.
So are you amending then the RDA?
I'm moving to amend.
Moving to amend?
And specifically, I'm moving to amend the position. Perhaps Attorney Forte can help me find the exact provision that treats the library district and the school district rather similarly.
Section 4.5
Yes.
speaks about the school and library payments.
Yes. So what the amendment that I'm seeking is that the village would keep track of people that we've issued certificates of occupancy to and make that payment affirmatively rather than waiting for the library to try and track us down and bill us for it.
Okay, do I have a second to that amendment?
Second.
Well,
Third.
I'm sorry.
I think it would really just be a consensus because you already have
Consensus.
a motion on the floor to approve the agreement. So the way that the resolution, and let me pull the resolution. It would be 2640. It's not in here.
And Carmen, as you're looking to make that consensus recommendation, we have to, there's a very specific TIF Act that we follow for this, and it lays out a very exact process for how payments are made out of the TIF increment. I mean, I hate to do things on the fly because I don't want us to put in some wording that isn't going to be comportant with the TIF Act.
Right, I mean, the way that section 4.5 is laid out, it does indicate that the payments shall be calculated and paid in accordance with the various citations, which are citations to the TIF Act. And it lays it out very clearly. Both parties are in agreement to this language. That doesn't prevent the village from having an internal procedure that supports confirming the individuals who are living in the housing units. That doesn't mean that the village cannot handle that procedure internally, work alongside the library and or the developer, or both, to confirm that those numbers are correct within the confines of the act.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's more just notification. And we're not talking about the actual making of the payments. Making of the payments have to comport. But when Norton Lakes, when we issued COs for Norton Lakes, that's when we told 303, we've issued a CO. That's really all it is here's a list that says, you've issued 4 COs this last month. Don't know if there's kids there or not. You just tell them that, and then they're aware of it. I did have one question because I'm the engineer. Could somebody speak to a question I have about Exhibit C, the budget? Okay. Just want a confirmation. It's very much at the top. It says, second line item under A, First, it's a water treatment, supply and treatment, capacity 3,300 PE. And it says two wells, capacity each 350 GPM, cool. Right below it says ion exchange treatment system, 350 GPM. Should that be 750, or should that be 700? Thank you. Okay. Yeah, 3,300 PE, then it says 350 GPM, the next one should be 700 GPM. That's all, because there's 210, 350, yep.
Okay, we'll go back to.
And then Exhibit C, just to be clear, it is not, it's somewhat of a list of eligible items, but it is not in rank order of priority of spending, to be clear. It's in the
No, but
meat of
it's the first thing,
document.
according to
Yeah.
the construction schedule.
Yes, yes.
It's the first thing, so just, that's
But
all.
by the agreement, the first payments are always going to be the school district and the library payments per the act.
Okay, going back to 7C, I'm in a little discussion with the clerk. She said, we don't need an amendment, it's an internal procedure. Therefore, do I have an amendment to move 7C?
Yeah, you have a motion
Okay.
and a second already.
And a second? Are we ready for a vote? Okay, roll call then.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Trustee Burson.
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Nay.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you for that discussion. Moving on to 7D, motion to approve Resolution 2623, authorizing execution of an employee leasing agreement with MCT Impact Solutions LLC.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Janet. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Nick? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All right, second by Kim. Discussion? Any discussion? Explanation? Austin? No? Okay.
Do you want to go?
You'd ask your
Were you
question.
going to talk about what we were talking about?
Oh, which one?
Okay. So, no, just today we were talking a little bit about one of the warrant items and a payment that we're making, to get someone out of the MGT contract, and we noticed that the language in the contract maybe isn't ideal. It basically says that if and when we were to decide to have someone, come on board and hire them as an employee, that MGT gets to decide at their sole discretion what to charge us. So I think after today's discussion about the other issue with Jim Brown, I think we all thought, well, at least a couple of us thought that we should just address that real quick and maybe make a change to that or negotiate what the payout would be if we decide to buy him out again. Talking about this time Russ.
Okay. Janet, you had your hand up.
All right, so the fee on the table right now is for Jim Brown, is that correct?
No, it's
No,
for
it's for
Russ.
Russ.
It's in their standard contract, so I can ask them to remove it because we are kind of giving them an employment.
I think, sadly, in the case of Russ, I think we're on the wrong side of that question.
We can't hear you. Say that again.
I said, I think in the case of Russ, we're on the wrong side of that question, and we have to just pay it.
Well,
Is my opinion. We've had this conversation before, regarding Jim Brown, who's been here for a very long time. MGT had more than enough opportunity to make their money as a staffing company on Jim Brown. So I would object to any payment to MGT, for Jim Brown, to release him from that agreement. I think Russ is a little bit different situation.
So I think there's two issues. There's no chance that Russ is going to be around long enough to even trigger that clause in the contract.
That's
So-
correct.
So I don't necessarily have an issue. I mean, Russ has made it very clear that the only reason he's doing this is to help us until we find a more permanent solution. The issue with Jim Brown, totally different. 3 years ago, someone should have, said, let's put a cap or a time limit on to when we're gonna pay a fee, because quite honestly, it's very one-sided in the contract that they just can make up a number at the end and say you have to pay this. And legally, we would have to, because that's what the agreement says. So I've tried multiple times to negotiate a lower fee or eliminate the fee, and they basically said the contract is what it is, and they're holding us to it. So that's just.
Yeah, that's correct.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Just to follow up on that, Trustee Burson, we did agree earlier today to pay $2,000 to get him out of that contract, so. But that's fine. We don't have to make the change on this contract. Let's just be aware of it when we do these in the future. I think, yeah, I agree that this one probably is not necessary. We can go ahead and push this one forward today. But let's just make sure we've got that in our heads for the next time around.
All right, how about roll call?
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. 8, discussion items. Are there any discussion items? Okay, we'll move on. 9, additional items from the president, trustee, or attorney. Austin, any comments? Frank? Go
Can I just
ahead.
give a update on the Fox Mill meeting that we had?
Sure.
So, obviously, nobody wants to pay more, for anything, if they don't have to, and that's probably gonna be the biggest roadblock that we have in this, but there was also one other issue that came up, which I think was legitimate, and it was, if we try to pass a bond for the entire amount, say this does go through at some point, if we were to pass a bond, instead of doing it all up front, that maybe we pass smaller bonds as the project goes. So if somebody's living in a house and their street doesn't necessarily get done and they decide to move, they're not paying into the SSA.
Right.
Or at least they wouldn't be paying as much. So if we did smaller increments of bonds, maybe on an annual basis, if that's even possible, and I'd have to do some research on that. So instead of taking out the entire amount, which the rough guess right now is about $6 million to do the roads in Fox Mill. So maybe we do, 500, 600, 700,000 at a time, depending on how many miles per year we're planning on. So that maybe takes the sting out of it a little bit. Other than that, I think, it's just people basically are blaming the village for not planning this 19 years ago to say, hey, how are we going to fix roads and infrastructure? And that they're basically saying that's not our problem, it's your problem. So, so that, we need to get over the hurdle. But my goal is to try to create a better relationship with the HOA and the residents of Fox Mill so we can do this together. And if the ultimate decision is, hey, we don't want to do this, it's your responsibility, village, you take care of it, then that's what we're gonna have to live with. So, that's kind of the update. I do plan on going to the next HOA meeting. I did ask them if they would post the video, so all the residents that may not be on Facebook could have a chance to look at it. They said their attorney has advised them against doing that, which I don't really understand because it's really just a courtesy to the residents. So we will look into other options. We have a YouTube video at this point, so I might ask the board somewhere down the road is to spend a little money to send information out to direct residents to a YouTube website, so if they want more details on it. But that's
Good.
basically the update. I don't know, Scott, anything you want to add? Okay,
No.
so that was really it.
All right. Any other comments? Mike?
Just a quick thought on that, based on my previous experience, 700 is too small for financing. I think there's 11 sub-associations, if I remember right, or maybe 10. Maybe pair them up and then do 5 issues of 1.2 million or something. That's probably going to be a little bit more marketable, a little bit more finance friendly, I guess, to use it, because you got making and levying on all of those, so the less you can spread that out better if you do less making and levy. And then for anybody watching at home, just to refresh, I was one of those people who were here back then and basically said, no, we were going to be consistent. Anything you have in your neighborhood that didn't come with a ditch and a chip sealed road was going to be yours to maintain, because we had to be consistent with what we have elsewhere in the village, and the quote unquote traditional subdivisions, the curb gutters, streetlights, et cetera, And that was the position of the previous highway commissioner, Norrin. And that was adopted by Commissioner Galucci too, because they have to be consistent throughout the township. This is a unique amenity to that neighborhood, that subdivision, and things like special service areas are, because you're getting a special service. You have full sidewalks, full streetlights, full parkways, full curbs and gutters. That's why it's special. I don't have those things down by me. So that's equity to make it fair for everybody. So it's, yeah, I assume some folks would still want to dig on something from 19 years ago, no doubt. But that we're not being inconsistent with the message that was given back then, and we were not being inconsistent with our predecessors, and we're not inconsistent with the county either. The county will not pay for any of these amenities and anything that's built under the county's authority for the same reason.
Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of people weren't here 19 years ago in the subdivision, possibly in Camden Hills, so they never heard that message. They just heard from a realtor or somebody that, hey, you know, the roads belong to the village. Now, one thing that did come out that the Public Works group, because Andrew was there, that I don't think Public Works realized was that Fox Mill does have all the resources to pay for the curbs and sidewalks and the ADA issue. So that, to me, is even more reason that we have a collaborative discussion about this issue, and if we can combine it all together, maybe we can get the work done sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah, good point. All right, any other discussion on that? Oh, Kim, no? All right, let's see.
She has one other issue.
I have something different.
Oh,
It's not
Kim?
Fox Mill.
All right.
I just wanted to bring up that, are we no longer signing the warrants like we were?
If you'd like to, we can do that.
Well, I thought we made a consensus that we were
Mhm.
doing that in lieu of the electronic signatures.
Okay. We'll talk tomorrow about that. Come in and look over them. Good.
Well, it's not, I've already looked over them, but I thought we had a consensus that that was
Sign 'em
going
by
to be
person.
the sign-off
Mhm.
by the fiduciaries.
Okay,
Just
Yeah.
bringing it up.
all right. I'll talk to Michelle tomorrow. Mhm.
And I'd just like to close, say thank you. It's been a pleasure working with the village. And with this passage, I think my work is going to be completed on that limited engagement. If something comes up, you've got my number and my email. You can contact me, but I do believe with tonight's 2 votes, I don't foresee that I'll have any future need to be here. But it's been a pleasure working here, and I think we've got a lot done in that time frame.
Do we
And
salute?
yep. So I'm like in the old army. I'm just going to fade away. But I didn't want to do an Irish goodbye and just get up and go, because it's been a pleasure working with you, and we've, I think, had disagreements, but we got stuff done. So
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Drive careful, Mark. All right, moving on to 9. No, we just did that. Okay, motion to go into closed session. What's that?
The exceptions, you have to read the exceptions.
Yes, I will. Okay. Oh, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or contractors. I need a motion.
And the first one.
And the first one, semi-annual review of closed session minutes.
So moved.
Okay, moved by
Second.
Janet, second by Kim. Roll call, or all in favor? All in,
Aye.
okay. I think we're going to stay in this room today. It was requested by